Hi ladies and gentlemen, Dave Dobbs here. It's the 1st of November. I'm in Glastonbury. It's quite interesting because, you know, I've been going on this whole thing about Nibiru and that sort of stuff, and I've been very sort of concerned about where's the best place to be, and what have you, as we come into this big time. And I've been going through a massive, great process as well with the whole movement of Nibiru and Planet X, Nemesis, whatever you want to call it, really. And on the screen recording I've got going here, we've got Nibiru Weeks Away, How Prepared Are You Really? And that was last year. I posted that last year as we came to the big 25th of January passing, which I predicted would pass on the 25th of January. And I also said we were going to have a massive earthquake on the original, on this model here. If I click on that, I wish that worked. 24th of, so I predicted it would be on the 24th of November 2016, and that's when I pictured. And if you can see this this model here, that funny, it says it's full screen unavailable, but in that model you see two points. I wonder if it would just play that for a shake. You can see there's 2 points there. You can see that you've got Nibiru here, and you've got Nibiru here, and you've got Planet X here, and you've got Planet X here, and you've got Earth here, and you've got Earth here. So we've got 2 points, and we've got 2 points that really affect, and this is very out of scale, but nonetheless, you know, we understand. If I go to we'll pull up. Let me just pull up over here, and we go to let's go to my channel, and let's go to my videos, and we see I mean, you can see I've made a lot of videos on Planet X over the last few years, but you can understand that the earthquake here, where I've got my cursor here, anomalous earthquakes, North Korea, or North Korean nukes, or Nibiru, I guess that's going to say. That was on the 22nd of November 2016, and you know, I talked in my previous videos about how granite floats on magma. How, you know, basalt also floats on magma, but basalt effectively is magma, solidified, as granite is, I guess at one stage or other it was magma also. It's a different formation of type of magma, I suppose, but it's a lighter, less dense form of magma, and it floats on magma, and it has a tendency in an earthquake, if there's enough of a tremor, it can actually rise like a vessel, like a big ark. We can imagine something big floating vessel, and I often think that this was the ark that was used by Noah, although actually that's the whole story. I'm kind of Noachian time. I'm much more relating that to Mars. But the whole story, actually, our entire past is a very kind of like we don't really understand our past at all. I think our whole history timeline is not as we're being told, and I think a lot of us are guessing that there's a lot of untruths there, or a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of misleading information about our past. So I want to. You know, I've come back to my mother. My mother's starting the chemo again for her cancer, and I've just seen another friend as well, who's I've just been to another I suppose a kind of tribute, a bit of a wake, a bit of a tribute to a very young lady who just passed away to cancer. And you know, I've had two girlfriends that have passed, that have ex-girlfriends who've also lost their lives to cancer. And I've got many other friends whose mothers and fathers are also experiencing cancer, but a lot of young people are going as well. And if we consider what's happening with Fukushima now, and the eruption that occurred on the 11th of March 2011, and the nuclear power station that went bang, and I'm saying that the very same thing, if we consider that the 2004 tsunami and earthquake that happened on Boxing Day 2004, and then the 27th of February 2010, the big 8.8 earthquake in Chile, it was followed, you know, if we look at where the sun was at that point, and if we look at the Earth, where the Earth was at that point, and we send the Earth around the Sun to the 27th of February 2011, and then we go another 12 days, we get to obviously the 11th of March 2011, at the time of Fukushima. That's a 12-day difference in astronomical positioning. And we have, you know, a nuclear power station that splits open its side, and we look at all the radiation that's going on. You know, do we have the right to select, if we run that through a date calculator? So let's just go along here to see. I've done this somewhere. What have we got here? So the 27th of the 2nd, 2010. 6:34. End date, the 11th of the 3rd, 2011, 5:46. These are the two times of those two earthquakes, and we get the result in between is 376 days, 23 hours and 12 minutes. So I was assuming that if we took the time of the earthquake in if I use that same mass to apply to try and work out the earthquake on the 22nd of November 2016. So let's have a little look here. What have we got here? Oh yeah, it's Martin. Yesterday, I just thought, we'll come back to Martin Luther Day, which was yesterday on the 31st. So, but let's just, that's the Chile earthquake 2010. 2011, it was 2059 UTC on the November the 21st, the Fukushima earthquake and the New Zealand subsequent earthquake, where we saw the mantle actually rise 2 meters in certain areas in New Zealand, which was significant because it was a massive earthquake. Then where do we run? So there it is. There's our date time. According to my calculations, if you start with the date and the time of November the 21st, 2016, 2059, and then add 376 days, 23 hours and 12 minutes, the result is Sunday the 3rd. This is UTC time, or Greenwich Mean Time, I guess that would be the same as well. And 12 minutes. The result is Sunday, December the 3rd, 2017, 8:11 p.m. So that's, I mean, you know, we've had massive earthquakes the last few days. You know, they've downgraded a few of them. Let's just go along to what's recently. When was that? Oh no, that's. We'll just keep coming along here. Excuse my. That was a 6.8. When was that? That was the 31st. Ironically, NASA is just telling us that we've had 2017 U1 new asteroid that's been detected that looks like it's being steered or something like that, or actually I don't know. There's lots of stuff. We've had no end of kind of flybys by NASA, and of course I've shown you an enormous amount, and I showed you the 13 sequential flybys that all had different names by NASA, but were obviously 198 days apart, and showing you this incredible pattern. I started predicting 7 flybys, which is, this is pretty massive data. And you have to excuse this video being all over the place, but I just wanted to try and give you some idea of, this is October the 26th that NASA announces this, U1. Does that mean also translated as we lost? It's just, we've got some sensational data coming in here. That was on the 30th, 8.4. We very rarely see 8-point plus earthquakes, very rarely, and now we're coming into the vicinity, because on the 5th of November, we basically come to where is it? We basically, I'll just run that model there. Round about the 4th, by my maths, we really come into the kind of like the, we're entering into the vicinity of the hub, if you like, of Planet X. You have to excuse me because I've got a posted video and I've got lots and lots to do, so I'm just going to have to put this image over the top of this and run it and very quickly post this video up. So it's going to be a bit thrown together, but it's hopefully going to give you some basic times and some basic dates just to update you a little bit. It's a little bit all over the place, I'm afraid, and apologies for that. That was. You can see it's either the 3rd. It's basically, we can expect the biggest. I mean, we're in the vicinity of quakes and asteroids and all sorts of stuff now. We come into it, guys. There's nothing. This is just where we're at now. You can see that it's it's the 3rd or the 4th of December. You can't really, at that point of X where you see that X there, it's Planet X, I'm assuming, is way below the, is below the ecliptic. This obviously model is it's very difficult to know the exact angle, which is why I put this model originally, because we don't know how slanted or perpendicular to the ecliptic the actual angle of Planet X actually coming up and through and around our sun. But if we go back onto if we run that through, if we're going to get a lights out kind of like moment where our lights go out, that's going to be around about in the lead up to, probably the around Christmas time, and after Christmas right up to the 2nd of Jan next year, we are gonna be in for some. This is when you put all the models together of all the flybys I've put. Last year, do you remember the big? If I go back to this shot here, and I just go back to that absolutely amazing Matt Rogers shot, it will just come on after this. It was on the 15th of August 2016, and it was an epic shot. It was this shot here. He caught it up in Hull. It was like nearly midnight. And he'd been seeing the red glow up on the horizon and been fascinated and going further and further up north with his camera, staking it out. And this is true astronomy. This is not getting your ideas from other people or getting feedback or reading books. Astronomy is observing the night skies like Becky Lewis does all the time. It's out there, and that's what made Matt Rogers. I mean, Matt Rogers is besieged by kind of other people's footage, and he's become a bit like Steve Olsen, where he just kind of really focuses on posting other people's footage. But he entered the scene with a camera, staking it out, you know. And we have this new Planet X hunter, and he's a new Planet X video maker, and it's very much like Nigel's view on things, who's really talking about the sun simulator and that sort of stuff. Another new British filmmaker who's entered the Planet X kind of Nibiru scene. But Matt Rogers entered, and this was really his epic kind of like debut kind of like shot really for me, when he really caught this, and he caught all the debris. And do you remember when this came out? And I said, when this came out on the 15th of August, I said, and you can see all the debris there. I said, when you see this shot, because we'd seen this shot at this angle, it enabled me to change my timeline, and it gave us an extra year. Let me just get that previous one. It gave us an extra year to it changed all the dates, and I was, you know, it's quite complicated if you see some of my other videos and you see how I've had to adjust this, because obviously as I've been getting the information in, I've had to adjust the information as I've been going along and say, well, we've got to do this and we've got to do that, we've got to add this, we've got to take that away. But it's been a process of just adding and taking away, moving things around, and observing with information as we've been going along, because we haven't had the big telescopes and everything else like that, these big expensive telescopes to observe the skies. Nobody, very few, even the amateur astronomers who do have that type of equipment. And it seems only NASA can get their hands on this kind of like breathtaking sort of this breathtaking hardware that enables some sort of that's a sensational shots that we'd love to be able to get hold of, but obviously we can't because we haven't got that type of equipment. So we have to rely on corroborated data coming in across YouTube and across kind of like Facebook groups and different things like that. Really, it's I guess what I'm saying is that we're in it now, and they're going to try and take us into war. They're going to try and say North Korea's the baddie. They're going to try and do everything now, because they always go to war anytime Planet X is around. You know, look at what happened with Libya directly after Fukushima. We weren't dropping aid on Fukushima or sand to try and block out the nuclear radiation. We were dropping bombs on Libya, and that's what NATO's going to do. They're going to try and take us into war, because if they can take us into war, it means that we're a planet of war, and the higher agendas of peace and love that work in the universe cannot work with that which is of war. But the message I'm given is that humanity is not a race of war. It is a race being subverted with war, and I'm told that will now change, that we're going to be given some very high assistance now from some very high bodies that want to work with us. And so just to go forward here, we're just going to run forward over to here to I said that I'm just going to end this post with Martin Luther, who sometimes during October the 31st, 1517, 500 years ago, yesterday, the day before the Feast of All Saints, the 33-year-old Martin Luther posted thesis on the door of the Castle Church in Wittenberg, and basically he questioned the Roman Catholic rule of over the Bible, and realised that they put a price on our passage into heaven. They put a price on our passage to our divine right. And it's very easy to turn people into a kind of like into a sheeple when when you take their divine Godhead, their divine heart, and you externalize it into a shepherd, which the Roman Catholics had a privy over, that direct privy over, controlled over. They claimed that our divine heart was ruled by their passage, and we have to find our own divine hearts again now. That's what this time is. And he was the first. This was what led to the Protestant church. This was the beginning of the Renaissance. Literally, the very beginning of the Renaissance, which was the beginning of most people being able to actually have a Bible in their own language that they could read. You know, this was the beginning of the King James's what led to the King James's Bible, and what led to people being able to question the Bible's authenticity and begin the passage of actually coming back to their own hearts and derive their coming back to the wisdom in their own hearts. And so that's what yesterday was a big day, Martin Luther Day, which I just thought I'd bring that in because here I am in Glastonbury, where Henry VIII burnt down the Glastonbury Abbey, and which led to the release of the Colburn Bible. And of course, the Colburn Bible says at the end, it says, man is not punished for the mistakes he makes, but the mistakes he fails to rectify. And we got a nuclear power station spewing out waste because I believe Fukushima because Fukushima occurred during the passage. It was caused by Planet X, and we don't have to repeat that mistake. We can learn from that mistake and not correct it. And that's what this time is all about. We have to see what's going on here. We have to see the bigger picture. And it's that time of correcting all these mistakes now. And I've got so much to sort out now. I'm in England trying to sort out help my mum and sort different things out really, and on a bit of a mad run around. And when I got here, someone said I didn't think I'd ever see Dave Dobbs here, because Dave Dobbs said he would never come back if it wasn't for if Brexit occurred. And I really feel as if Brexit hasn't occurred. I really feel as if we were all hoodwinked, and that they took these ideas of sovereignty that we all had, and they took advantage of this, and they used it to drive this agenda which would drive us into the hands of NATO and Trump and this new world order agenda, which was trying to take the whole world into a third world war. And we know where this is going, and all these people didn't want this thing to be played out as it has, I don't think. And I just want us to understand that we don't have to go under the wheels of some massive war here. We can all wage peace on this. We know what our governments are going to try and do here, and we've all got to follow our hearts now and do what we feel is best in our hearts. And I know it's a very confused message now, and it's a very, very tricky time to know how best to move forward, because we're in it now. We're absolutely in it, and most of us are victims of a new world order agenda. And they're taking our best, and they're driving us into a war, and it's getting a very, very complicated picture. And how we're going to get through this, I don't know. But I can tell you, follow your hearts. It's going to be a tricky time. Remember, a hungry man is an angry man. And if they can collapse our currencies, and you haven't got food provisions, the more food you can store right now, the less likely it is they can generate anger in our communities, wherever you are. Whether you're in Europe, they're going to try and, whether you're hating Europe now and blaming Europe for everything that's gone on in the world, whether you're hating all the refugees and blaming them, whether you're hating, I don't know who you're hating, but I would say stop hating anyone. Remember all these refugees fleeing all our depleted uranium that we've dumped on them, in the form of depleted uranium bomb shells. You can hate refugees now, you can hate the Syrians, you can hate the Iraqis, you can hate Americans, you can hate the French because they're part of Europe, or you can hate the Europeans, or you can You can hate the Brexiteers or you can hate the non-Brexiteers. You can hate the pro-Europeans. You know, it's all about hate, 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 hate. Come out of it and come into a place of peace and realise we're all being played here. We're all being driven into a very terrible, horrible agenda. Come out of it, and I'll just scroll that down a bit as I'm saying this, so you can just see where this, how the Protestant church really formed as in protesters. You know, this was the Renaissance. This is where people realised that they can come back to their heart. Understand that this is a massive movement that's playing out, and this is all about coming back to our heart. And so that's it for today. And you know, the real thing was just basically to say that the big earthquakes that the biggest earthquakes that we're going to expect, the biggest of these earthquakes that we're going to expect, are going to start basically on the evening of the 3rd in England, certainly Greenwich Mean Time, right? The biggest one. I mean, they're starting now. As we come into it now, they're all going to start now. We're coming to a tense earthquake period, I'm afraid, as we lead up to the 3rd, 4th of December. And it's going to get bigger and more intense, and there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to unfold now. Basically, keep your larders full now. Keep your larders full. You're in it now, guys. And there's going to be people waging hate, and all I can tell you is wage peace, stay in peace. Just remember, come into your heart, remember your community. Try not to sort of let anything divide you. You know, the person who came up to me yesterday, you know, at least he looked me in the eyes and he was saying, I didn't think I'd see Dave Dobbs here and that sort of stuff. He was pro-Europe and la la la, and he called me a Roman Catholic, and I'm totally against that whole agenda, you know, but you see how they divided us. But he spoke to me and he said what he had, and he looked into the whites of my eyes and he had what he had to say, and I respect that fact that he said what he had to say in peace. And whatever you feel and whatever you've got going on at the moment, remember that don't let them divide us and divide our entire communities. You know, all those Brexiteers, all they've done is they've just given a lot of power to groups of people that were just working for Trump and just working for NATO and just working for an agenda that was using ideas of sovereignty to achieve a completely different agenda than most of you were talking about. You know, whatever it is, Nigel Farage, he wasn't UK independence at all. He was Trump's man. He was NATO's man. And all those people who were going for Trump were believing that Trump's going to tear. You remember, what's his name? Infowars, whatever his name is. Alex, whatever his name is. But you know what I mean, Infowars. And he was just like, they're going to tear. Trump's going to tear. He said Trump's going to tear NATO apart. And then you had him there with Theresa May directly after he was elected. And she said, I think you said, you're 100% behind NATO. Do you remember? No, Trump just did anyway. Sure. And everyone's hearts dropped. All those pro-Trumpers. Didn't your heart drop when you'd be like, he's going to tear NATO apart? Sure. We're all being played, guys. Don't let them divide us. Don't let them rip apart our communities. We're just being too easily had by these New World Order agendas. I'm not part of that, and you're probably not part of that. We're all being played. There's humanity, and humanity is humanity as a whole species is being divided and invaded by something different. This is humanity being subverted here. And we've got to rise above it and not let them divide and conquer us. You know, and the guy that stopped me yesterday, I don't know his name, and I wouldn't mention his name. Remember, he might have had an opinion about what he had to say to me. You know, he came out and he was just like, he was really quite angry, but he was polite, and he looked into the whites of my eyes and he said what he had to say politely. And I said what I had to say to him politely. You know, and I respect that. And if you've got something to say to someone else and you've got an opinion, be polite. Be peaceful. Express your opinions, and if we can all come to the big round table where we can bring it all together and discuss our rights of sovereignty on this plane in peace, without making terrible threats on each other's lives, without hate, don't hate anyone in this realm, in this human realm. You're all beautiful. You've all got a right to say what you've got to say. You've all got the right to be heard. That's what Shakespeare. To Shakespeare, the right to speak and the right to be heard. God bless you. Thank you very much. Peace be with you.